Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And yeah, just keep on sharing the video. Guys, leave comments when you watch. At least it helps to, it helps with the YouTube algorithm and YouTube to just push the video for other people to view. Yeah, so in today's video, I just want to talk about something that was placed on my heart, and that's desire. And for me, my everyday prayer these days is that I wake up desiring the right things, because it's so easy to get caught up in other people's blessing, or to just get caught up in what other people are doing, and you neglect the things that God is doing in your life. It's just so easy to be so self-critical, or to be so judgmental, like, but I'm seeing other people achieving what I want to achieve, and it's so easy for them, and it's so difficult for me. Why me? Why me? Why me? But when you look in the Bible, in the book of Psalms, David said, create in me a clean heart and purify me. So every time you find yourself desiring what other people have, every time you find yourself thinking that certain things in your life are just delayed, like certain things are not happening, and you begin to compare your life to others. It's just this comparison, you know but and there's just this comparison. And when you look at David, he made that confession to God: create in me a clean heart and purify me. You're simply going to God and telling him, create in me a clean heart, prune me everything that is not of you, each and every desire in me that is not of you. Take it away. Let your will be done and not my will. And even the Bible tells us that when you find yourself desiring things that look so glamorous, things that don't even glorify God, you need to check yourself. So sometimes when you find yourself desiring certain things that are not even part of your plan, and just because you saw these things working out for a friend and you start desiring them all of a sudden, you just need to involve God in it. Because sometimes some of these things that we plan on doing, or some of these things that we want to achieve, it is not because we can't achieve them, or it's not because we do not have a guide on how we can achieve them, but it is because we do not glorify God. When you look at the when you look in the Bible, in Genesis 11, I think it talks about the Tower of Babel. When you see the people, they came together and they say that let's build a city with a tower, so that we can make a name for ourselves. So sometimes some of the things that you want, and some of the things that you desire, they are things that glorify you, and they're not things that glorify God. And that's what the problem is. So most of the times you find that you're trying to achieve something, and you're just moving in circles. You're just moving in circles. You're trying to figure out, like, what am I doing wrong? Sometimes it's God's intervention, like he's intervened in those plans. He's trying to stop you, because he knows that once you achieve this, you'll be full of pride, you'll be an arrogant person, you'll think you're better than everybody else. So, in everything that you do, make sure that you glorify God, make sure that you invite Him, and make sure that you check the posture of your heart. Because many of the times, also, we try to do things to impress others. We try to do things so that people can look up to you, and so that people can idolize you. And that is very, very wrong. And that is not biblical. That is not godly, you know. And the Bible also tells us that God humbles the exalted and exalts the humble. Every time you start feeling, every time you become so full of yourself, God will always find a way to humble you. You're headed for disaster. Like, you can't put yourself first and put God second. Because there's so many people here on earth who have achieved so many things, but at some point they just start to feel empty. All of a sudden they just start to feel like they're not good enough. I mean, these are people who are millionaires, who are billionaires. We see these people committing suicide every day, and to the outside world we feel like this person has got everything. They have all the money, they have all the connections, but why do they just feel empty all of a sudden? Because when they started doing certain things, it was their desire and their will, and they were not working in God's will and in God's desires. That is why after they achieve everything, once they have all the money, the mansions, everything that they ever wanted, it could be you finally get into your dream school, you finally get married, but you just feel lonely. You just feel so empty. You feel like there's something missing. It's because you did not walk in God's will. It's because you did not desire the things that God wanted for you. It's because you looked at your friend and you said, ah, what my friend is doing is good. Ah, I saw my friend got married. Ah, I saw my friend buy a car. And you also started desiring those things. You threw away the things that God placed in your heart, and you let your flesh take over you. And that is the mistake that most of us do. It's just like when we're growing up, right? Our parents are gonna tell us, no, don't do this, don't go this side, don't go this side. But we feel like, ah, my parents are being too strict, why are they treating me like this? And you feel like you've grown, so you do those things that they tell you not to do. But once you do them, you realize that you get hurt and you get bent and you end up crying. So this also applies, like, as children of God, as a born again Christian. There's certain things there are certain things you should not even indulge yourself in. There are just certain things that you should refuse to partake and just be like, no, this is not for me. And when you look at what it really means to be a Christian, all of these restrictions that God has put for us, it is not for Him, it is for us. It is for us to be protected and for us not to get hurt. That's why you find that most of the times when you go out of the way, when you go out of the way, you think you're living in the moment, you're having fun, you're doing all these things, but at some point you'll get bent and you get hurt. And when your world is collapsing, the first thing you do is that you do not blame your friends. No, you start blaming God. Why me? Why me, God? Why me, God? It's because you left His presence. It's because you left His will. You left His desire. And you started desiring the wrong things. You started chasing the wrong things. You started walking according to your will, not according to God's will. That's why the Bible also says that you really need to be humble. You need to humble yourself. Sometimes God will not show you the overall picture of how you're going to get to where you're going, but He's going to tell you, these are the plans that I have for you. This is who you'll become in the next 10 years. And you'll be so worried. You'll be like, but I don't even have the connections. But I can't even speak properly. But I'm not someone who's so friendly. I'm not all these things. Like, you start criticizing yourself and you just start questioning God. But God knew you before He formed you. So He knew there was already a plan about your life. Like, your life has already been written down. This is why you find that there are certain times, like even when certain men of God, or like when God speaks a word over your life, when He says, oh, next year I'm seeing you traveling to America and whatnot, that word of God, it can come to pass only if you live in God's will, because there is your will and there is also God's will. So once you abide in God, and once you live in His will, the words and the things that is written and spoken over your life are going to come to pass. But once you walk away from God and you start walking in your will, those things will not come to pass. That's why some of you are saying, oh no, how come I saw myself traveling in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years? I don't understand this. No, it's because you walked out of God's will. You desired your own things and you did not want to trust God. You did not want to trust the process. You wanted to arrive even before you start off. You wanted to skip the process, that pruning process. My encouragement to you today is to just walk in God's will, desire the right things. Guard your heart, guard your friends, guard your family. There's certain people that you should not really entertain around you. They're just certain places you shouldn't really go to, no matter what. My encouragement to you is that guard yourself, guard your heart, desire the right things, pray to God. God, give me the right desires. Help me to see what you see in me. Help me to see through your lens, you know. Help me to see the bigger picture, not the small picture. Help me to overcome my fears, to overcome my desires. Help me live in your will. Help me to desire the right things. Help me to desire the things that will help me store up riches in heaven and not riches on earth. Because the Bible also tells us that we should focus on storing up riches in heaven and not on earth. Because you work hard, you have everything that you want. But at some point you're going to die and your relatives are going to remain fighting for these things that you have. And then on top of that, there's judgment that takes place when you die. So everything that you did on earth, God is going to look at your life and be like, what do you belong? Do you belong to heaven or do you belong to hell? So focus on storing up riches in heaven. Do the right things, live by God. Even if you get bent, never be too tired to run back to God.